Hello there, Year 9. And we've been looking at laws and rules and what makes things right and wrong and how the country decides what's right and wrong. I just want you to have a look at these two pictures here and to pause the video when I say just to pause the video. And tell me what the difference is between the crimes that have been committed and how you would deal with them differently. And discuss it with your form teacher and then come back to me. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I wonder what you said. And of course, the difference between them is the drugs offence is what's called a criminal offence. It's a criminal offence that's against the law. And when you buy drugs or when you use drugs or anything like that, then you're breaking the criminal law. It's a criminal offence. Whereas a right to move over someone else's land is a civil matter. So what happens is if two people can't make an agreement, then they'll go to something called a civil court rather than a criminal court to see if the court itself can actually argue whether or not an agreement can be made, So two kinds of law in this country. We looked last citizenship lesson at what is a law. Well, we're looking at the different types of law. So there's a civil law and a criminal law. Civil laws are civil matters between individuals, things like adoption, what happens to the children, all that kind of stuff during a divorce case, land disputes, right? Whether there's someone says, this is my land, or someone else saying, no, this is my land. Or consumer rights, when you actually buy something, and what happens if something goes wrong when you actually buy something. You might have heard of those consumers' rights. Those are all what are called a civil law, and you might hear on the news it saying that a civil case is being brought, as opposed to a criminal law. Now, criminal law is where you break the criminal law. For example, murder is a law against a person, but it's a law. It's a criminal law. It goes against, makes someone a criminal. Theft, someone stealing something, or drugs. Now, in a criminal case, it's the government who acts for all citizens. So if someone gets murdered, then the government will represent all citizens against the person who's actually committed the crime. Now, the difference in the court, in the different types of court. In a civil court, you can see here from the picture, there'll just be a judge sitting there without a jury. And it tries to be much more simpler, because going to a big court means that it's very expensive, so individuals will be keen to actually not make it as expensive as possible. So a civil court's case, if it's a very small case, if it's less than £5,000 in value, it will go to a small claims court, which again you may well have heard about. Whereas a criminal court is a much bigger thing, where serious offences are dealt with. Less serious offences are dealt in a magistrate court. It might still be a criminal offence, but a magistrate's court, where more serious offences are dealt with in a crown court, in a big court. So, what I want you to discuss now, and I'm going to give you a list of crimes and a list of things that have gone wrong and broken the law, and tell me whether they go into a civil law, into a civil court, or whether they go to a criminal court. Okay, so I want you to discuss that with your form teacher, and then you can see whether you're right or not.